Hello, friends, and welcome back to the show. My name is Mark, and in today's episode, I would like to focus on a topic that has become quite personal for me, especially recently, and that is consciously becoming optimistic or more optimistic and positive person. So, the questions I would like to ponder are how to become a positive person or more positive person, and if it's even possible to become a positive person if it doesn't come naturally for someone. As I mentioned, it is quite a personal topic for me, so I would like to tie it with a bit of a story from my own life. We'll see how it goes. Recently, I have been made aware by a certain close one that I might be more negative or have more pessimistic energy about me than I previously realized. And I have also been informed that it might be actually quite draining to be in a company of such person. And it was, delivered quite intensely. So of course it made me rethink a lot of things, how I behave, how others perceive me, and if I've truly unknowingly became such negative and pessimistic person. And after that, of course, followed the thoughts of if it's possible to change that or how would I change that. So I never thought about it too much until this recent event. Uh, I always sort of behaved, I would say, what naturally came to me. But of course, that made me think about what if what comes naturally to you, given circumstances and the environment you are in, or maybe the environment you have grown up in, isn't necessarily what's best for you. And of course, this is something that can absolutely happen, and you just sort of don't realize that it is happening because you are living in it, and you are slowly forming into a person who you might not want to be. And I feel after some introspection and reflection that in this regard, uh, with the positivity and optimism, it might be something that has happened to me. uh, you for sure know some people from your own friends group, for example, or just people that you could define as sort of energy vampires. Uh, those are the people that just drain your energy if you're in their company. They're always complaining, always negative and pessimistic about everything. They don't look forward to anything. They always find problems in the situations that it's not even necessary. And of course, that idea of becoming an energy vampire yourself isn't something very appealing. Like, me personally, I don't want to be someone like that. So, thinking about that, and of course, I too know people like that in my own life, I realized that they might serve a sort of a reverse role model, and that might be something that might be sort of a starting point for the course correction. Now, I would like to insert a quote from Marcus Aurelius here, which I really like and which I think is very relevant to this topic. And that is, the things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts, which is beautiful and I would argue also true. So this topic of course correcting your behavior ties very well with my previous episode, which is about building habits. You can already see where this is going. I think that this the optimism or pessimism, positivity and negativity, is again mainly determined by your day-to-day habits, and even like unconscious habits, how you talk about certain things, what you focus on, if you complain a lot, or if you focus on the problems rather than the solutions, things like that. And if I think about it as a habit, being positive or being negative as a habit, it becomes much more clearer what I can do about it to change that. First step, I would say, is that one needs to be conscious or become conscious about his own actions. Because I think to a degree, big degree, positivity or the optimism are a choice, you know. And again, taking the lesson from previous episode, you can start immediately identifying with someone who is optimistic, who cheers others up, who sees the good in the bad situations, who, even if there are big problems, focuses on the positive. Uh, small things, being conscious about those small things, saying, I had a good day, even if you might be unsure. Those little things might start to convince you, or might start to convince your inner, your inner critic or inner persona. But I definitely think that being conscious about this is something necessary, especially if you've sort of been naturally formed into, taking the example of someone negative and pessimistic. If you have been naturally formed into someone like that, because, your environment or circumstances, the proactivity in actions is definitely something that is needed for change. But that is, of course, true for in many scenarios. So being conscious about the actions, even the smaller ones, and starting to identify as someone who is positive and who brings the sun to the others, that is definitely, I would say, a good start. Of course, you might be sort of confused or unsure how you feel about a day. For example, in the evening, if you think, oh, was this a good day or a bad day? Sometimes you might be unsure, of course, and that can happen, and it has happened to me as well. Like, I sort of go through the days a lot of times, and I'm just like, okay, I went through the day, but was it a good day? Was it a bad day? I'm not really sure. It's sort of gray, But what I found really helps is if you make a concrete definition, what is a good day for you? For example, I can say a good day for me is if I work out at least a little bit in the day, if I read, and if I, for example, make the time to, focus on a certain hobby, like drawing, for example. So these three things become sort of the definition what a good day for me is. And no matter what happens, no matter if, in the work there are some shitty situations, or if my boss is rude to me, or if, I don't know, have a falling out with one of my friends, whatever happens, if you make this definition of what a good day is, and you, of course, can take the things you did them, you had a good day, and you can say to yourself at the end of the day that I had a good day. There were, of course, some things that made me feel how I felt, but overall, it was a good day, given my definition. And again, it is something you have to be conscious about and decide for yourself what you want from the day and what is a good day for you. Of course, it might tie in what your goals are, what you are pursuing. But I found that it is a very neat little tool and a trick to, convince yourself or tell to yourself you had a good day, even if, emotionally you are unsure about that. Of course, this you can't use it as sort of a excuse, I would say. You have to still be true to yourself. If something happened in the day, you, for example, fucked up something, whatever it might be, in work, at university, you behaved shamefully. Be true to yourself. These things happen. But again, you can put a positive spin on those things as well. I learned my lesson. I know what not to do the next time. It was very educational. I will do better next time. And again, if it's not something that comes naturally to you, you have to be conscious about it. To tell yourself, now focus on the positive, and really push yourself to see what you can be grateful for, or what is the positive in the situation. It might be difficult in the beginning, but if you want to change from a negative or pessimistic person into a more optimistic one, then again, I'd say it's something you have to do. And it is something I feel like gets easier with time, because again, it is like building a habit, finding the things to be grateful for, seeing the days you had as good days, by your definition, saying more positive things consciously. Everything you do builds the habit that forms you into a person you want to be, or if you just let it go and behave how things come to you, then it might be forming you into someone who you don't want to be. The consciousness and the proactivity, I can't stress enough how important they are, at least from my perspective and how I think about this topic. Also, I would like to touch on the topic of toxic positivity, because I feel that is a very real thing, and I feel like a few years ago it has become a big topic, especially in the, I would say, self-improvement sphere on the internet, that every guru or motivational speaker was, propagating this idea, oh, you have to be positive all the time, don't let negativity come to you, and bad emotions, don't focus on that, and all of this. And I would just like to say, sure, it is something we have talked about here as well, like focus on the good things, focus on the opportunities rather than the threats. Like, you can find the positive in almost every situation. But that, of course, doesn't mean to ignore something. I almost don't want to say like negative emotions, because that creates the image that some emotions are negative or some emotions are bad. I think that is a faulty assumption. I would just say, don't ignore, for example, sadness or anger or frustration. Allow yourself to feel everything and to be true to yourself about how you feel and what you have done, and if it was right or wrong by your definition. It's being positive isn't, at least for me, about ignoring the more gray and maybe more negative aspects of life, because of course there can be any light without the dark. So experience all of it, feel all of it. Don't keep it locked inside of yourself, not allowing to feel it. But still, because of those maybe sad feelings, frustrations, and even the problems, you acknowledge that there are certain problems in your life. Because of that, it can sort of heighten the positive things and the things you can be grateful for. So, if I would sort of summarize my thoughts, which might be necessary because I was yapping a lot, what can be done to change my situation, for example, if we take it as an example? I find out I might not be someone very positive or optimistic, at least to a certain people. And after some introspection, I find it to be true and want to change. So what can I do? I think definitely the alpha, the starting point is the introspection and honest reflection about your actions, which is necessary. You have to admit to yourself, okay, there might be some things that I would like to change. There might be some things I am not very happy about. But with the introspection and reflection also comes the realization, okay, it is now here. I have brought it to my attention, and these are things I can change. Secondly, I would say that at least what has been very important to me and might be a big help to you as well is communication and feedback from close ones, not necessarily just the ones that made you aware that there might be a certain problem. Of course, that is very important as well. If your close friend tells you, hey, I have noticed this and this, and I'm not very happy about it. I don't feel very comfortable with it. Then, of course, talk with him about it and ask him questions. What can be done differently? How do you see it? What do you think would help, for example? But also your other close ones, like other friends and maybe partner or family. Talk about them, open this topic up, and get feedback from multiple people, because all of them might have a slightly different perspective on the problem and can offer different solutions or ideas that you might find useful. And of course, in general, I think that if you have a problem, especially a personal problem, just talking about it is very important and very helpful, just period. And after after these starting points, I would say that then you begin the journey with taking small steps. Again, it is something that ties very closely to building habits. So you consciously make some daily habits you want to do, maybe. For example, gratitude journaling. That really is something I have tried, and I would say it is working. Just every evening, for example, write 3 things you might be grateful about from the day. Or consciously choosing to talk about your days and experiences in a positive manner. Again, it is something we touched on previously, proactively choosing to focus on the positive in your day and in your experience. And for example, if you need to complain, keep in mind that you might want to balance it with something else, something good. For example, I am having some problems in work, it is very challenging time. But on the other hand, it is a great opportunity to learn new things and perfect my, for example, communication skills, because I have to call with a lot of clients. Something like that. Again, I can't emphasize this enough. The consciousness to focus on positive things is paramount, absolutely. And then you can implement also some other other, I would say, exercises into your day. Just trying to find gratitude in your everyday life. For example, if you are in public transport, just think about, oh, what can I be grateful for in this certain moment? And those, of course, can be small things. Things like, I'm grateful that this tram isn't fully packed, and I don't have to be pushed here with so many other people, Or I'm grateful that the weather is nice today, and I can feel the sun rays on my face. Whatever it might be, it is more about teaching your brain and your mind to think in this manner, to teach it, to teach yourself to find and naturally focus on the positives and good things in your life rather than the problems and the bad things, of course. You can also try things like affirmations, for example, reminding yourself every now and then, I am a positive person. I am someone who can find opportunities in bad situations. I am someone who can bring the sun into other people's lives. I am someone who can help cheer other up, and things like that. I personally have not tried that, but from what I've read and heard, it might be useful as well. And this is basically it, I would say. These are my thoughts about the topic. So if I return to the initial questions, how to become a positive person, we have basically answered that. Start with introspection and reflection, then communicate with others and especially our close ones, get some feedback, and based on that, implement some daily habits into your life. Even small ones, start with small steps and build on that. And that will help you sort of relearn what things your mind focuses on and what your mind thinks about. And that will help you form yourself into someone who you want to be. And the second question was if it's even possible for someone to become a positive person. And here I would like to talk from my own experience. It has been some time since I have been made aware of these aspects of my personality, and since I have implemented some of the tips and tricks I've talked about. And I would say already I feel a huge difference in how I perceive everyday life and how I think about things and what thoughts occur to me naturally. Like, I have noticed that because of these habits and because I consciously chose to focus on them, or I consciously chose to focus on positive things, the thoughts that naturally occur to me are also dyed in a more positive color, I would say, which is something I didn't really think about beforehand or didn't realize would happen, but it is a very nice change. So the answer to the question is yes, I absolutely think it is possible. It can be a long process, but in my opinion, it is absolutely achievable. And if you embark on this or similar journey, I have my fingers crossed for you. I wish you good luck, and hopefully some of the things I talked about here will help you on the journey. So good luck, soldier, and until next time, bye bye.